Okay, because I wanted to record to the cloud.
Yep.
All right. Yes. So today, any upcoming travel? It's kind of a maybe a rhetorical question for some of you because I know you're going places.
5 minutes.
I know a number of you are heading to FOSDEM. David, you're going to be there too.
See you there.
All right, awesome. And Claire, you're going. I knew that, of course. Stephanie, no FOSDEM for you? No. It's an interesting conference if you've never been to FOSDEM. I will say that.
I was tempted. Wait, was it last year we were talking about it? I think it's something, and timing was just hard. So
I agree. It is kind of a tricky time, especially if you have other trips around that time. It's like hard to take whole blocks of weeks off
yeah,
to start the semester.
if they would do it like in closer to like summer, I could combine it with something. But I know it's always. I feel like it's always
I think
like
that's the
in the
Fosse
winter.
option then. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
That's
yeah,
like the summer alternative here in the States.
yeah.
Um,
Now I have reasons to go to Belgium.
Who doesn't?
I know. I want to get some food. I want get some good food.
waffle and chocolate is what I pretty much eat the entire
Oh, I
time I'm
know.
there.
My husband's Dutch, so we go there. We like that whenever we go visit family in Holland, then we take vacation in Belgium.
It's great for walking. It's a very walkable
Yeah,
place,
yeah.
Brussels, that's for sure. I do like it for that. All right, cool. Yeah, the chips, the fries.
The fries, but I mean, like they have literally like entire like establishments just
Yeah.
for
I know,
fries, chips, depending where you're coming from.
yeah, no, right, exactly.
No,
And
but
the
you can't have
waffles.
the waffles are the thing.
Yeah, we
The
see.
waffles
Yeah,
are they're really good if you haven't had them. Like strangely good. I don't know what happens in Belgium to make them so good, but man, they're really good. The fries, chips, I don't know, they're fine. So they don't explode my mind. All right. A couple things. Let's see. I guess we have two event things. So the first one, David, I have you at the bottom there, but just I put your event on there. Do you want to talk just ever so briefly about it? Sean, it's that event to consider down on the agenda. If you
Oh
can.
yeah, I can.
Yeah, thanks. We are hosting our first annual GW Open Source Conference, looking for
Yay.
speakers, targeting about 150 attendees, all students, staff, faculty, external subject matter experts, i.e. you guys. Anybody in DC, we have a very limited travel budget, but make a pitch. And the Sloan Foundation, Josh and Liz are going to be there. NASA keynote speaker. It's going to be a lot of fun. And oh my gosh, is this a lot of work and stress?
I can only imagine. Well, actually, I know.
The website
I
looks great.
I hate event organizing, David. I'm always afraid that I'm going to get a call like the day before the event that the venue is closed or they don't accept us or something.
I think I'd be grateful about that at this point.
Like, sorry, just figure it out.
Yeah,
I tried.
exactly.
That's pretty funny. So is this mostly for internal GW folks? I mean, I know that you mentioned speakers from elsewhere, but you had also mentioned like a lot of folks that might be coming from you.
Yeah, I mean, it's sort of a rally the troops here at GW, but
Okay.
we're certainly like taking the word community very seriously and inviting others from DC industry, local, government as well. So, well, our local government is
Okay.
federal government.
Well, yeah, it is. If after the fact, if you want to write like a blog post or anything to talk about it,
Oh my gosh, I could think of nothing I'd rather do.
I know, just put it on your list.
Okay.
I could help you. I mean, even if it's just like a few of the highlights, they're usually pretty short, you know.
Yeah, we're actually going to have a videographer
Are you?
and try to get like a really nice video because we're
Okay. Oh,
planning on making
That's
this annual.
Yeah.
So this will be, it's all for marketing for the next time to make it easier.
well, then the blog post could just be a link to the video. It could just say, if you want to know more, here's a link. Click that.
So
So,
can I ask what's the format going to be like? Is it just a single track and then, or are you
It's
doing multiple
probably going to
tracks?
be single track with keynote speakers, panels, lightning talks, and then other presentations, and trying to have, I don't know, we're still we're still finalizing all that. We want to have it be participatory as much as possible, so I'm not
And I see
sure.
you have a CFP. Are you also just inviting people? Which may actually be a.
Um,
And
yeah,
there's reasons I'm asking you this question. So,
we are inviting people and we're having an open CFP.
okay. Yeah, I mean, so this is similar to what we do here at UCSC, but then I think we're a smaller scale because we're just specific to, and your website looks great compared to ours. So I want to see what you're using for your website. This is awesome.
This is
Do
just
you,
Drupal.
is just Drupal? Okay.
Yeah.
We don't use Drupal. We're all in like, we're using other things. So I need to
Open
talk to
source.
I know. It's amazing because we have UC is one of the biggest contributors to Drupal, like people wise, and yet I never use it. No, I was gonna say because we do ours, and it basically ends up being basically me deciding who gets to talk because I end up running the agenda. And so this year we're doing the UC Open, which is all the network. So which is about a month after this year event. So I'm interested to see how well the CFP works. We've decided not to do that. We're doing like the steering committee is going to create the agenda and invite people. So I'd be interested how the CFP process works for you. I think next year we want to do it more like a CFP.
Yeah, we're trying to have the best of both worlds. We're also trying to encourage students to, like, as a way for them to join,
Oh, that's cool.
and get this on their resume or Orchid.
That's cool. I like that too. Oh. I'm sorry, I'm not gonna. I was gonna say you said March, and I'm like, no, I'm at the beginning of March, not the end of March.
Oh, that stinks.
Yeah.
all right, cool.
All right,
Uh,
thanks.
Yeah, thanks, David, and good luck. All right. I guess I'll go to the first one. So, Claire reached out to Dario Taraborelli from CZI, who's going to come to this group. I think it's in 2 weeks, right, Claire? The February 5th one
Yeah.
on there. And from what I understood, he's going to talk about how CZI takes a look at the evaluation of projects that they may fund, as well
Yeah,
as
so this was based on I was kind of following up to understand a little bit more about the context of a Lero project that we know was funded by CCI, and I was like, that's really interesting. It's from Ireland, it's Lero. How are you even deciding what you're giving grants to? And they had mentioned that they were that they had that CCI had told them that they were being a heavily used project, and I was kind of, well, like, how are you measuring that? Because we've been talking about how you measure that. So in the conversation, Dario shared that they have a way of assessing who gets which projects are worthy of grants, and then they've also talked about the work that they do for those projects to assess their impact and how they're thinking about that. And I thought both of those topics would be incredibly interesting to this community. So I said, why don't you share all that information with more than just me? And so he's coming along in February, and I think that's going to be a great one.
it'll be great. I think, do a lot of you know Dario? I know a lot of you do. So, um, he's very conversational, and I think it can be very interactive the whole time. So I think we can kind of just get right to it and ask, like, what are you looking at and how do you measure these things? I'd also be curious as to, did he mention anything, Claire, about like the reporting periods, like if there's anything they ask for the projects to report on,
They
after funding?
he didn't. He did say that the data that they used is static data, so it's not a service that they're providing, like it's not being
Okay.
updated necessarily. That he has a static set of data that he was working off. So I mean that was just a factor on the timeliness of the results, I suppose. But no, he didn't mention anything about that. But we can if we have questions in advance that we would like him to cover, then maybe that would be a really good idea to just send them through to him. Yeah.
Okay, great. Stephanie, did you have a comment? You
Well,
want me to?
I guess we were just talking about CZI as a, because I think Dario is local to us. A couple folks from CZI are.
He's in the
And
Bay Area, yeah.
yeah. Um, so because of our conference, but we're trying to loop in the medical, like the health fields and biomedical groups that work within our different campuses. And I'm wondering if that's something else that CZI could talk to. I'm not sure if Dario specifically, but because CZI's focus being to some extent being having a medical
Yeah,
health
I mean,
health
I think,
industry focus to it.
disease orientation. Yeah.
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 yeah, curing disease is their focus, right?
Yeah. So I mean,
So
that would be my
maybe
question. It's aside from just the question here is more like how do you our question is kind of like what's the differences between for like is there a different way that you review projects because of kind of the health, not just privacy issues, but like just because a lot of that doesn't necessarily come out in the isn't necessarily open, or there's like different licensing considerations and the like that come from. So I'd be interested in just their take on like CZI's take on that particular question. And again, I'm and to some extent focused on asking them to be part of our conference because that specific issue is coming up for us as within the UC network, because there's a lot of medical, a lot of our campuses have medical schools and and hospitals attached to them. So
What would that question be, Stephanie?
yeah, I was just
So I'm like, how do you consider metrics for different like contexts of projects or different sets of projects?
or different project
Okay, yep.
project sectors.
Okay.
And specifically thinking about like specific question of
Okay.
might
Yeah.
be even interesting to have him talk to whether or not there, he's noticed differences between the different domains, I suppose, where they
Yeah,
are
domains
when
is
they're
a good way of
looking at projects. Yeah.
talking about it. Yeah. Sorry.
So I'll be really interested to hear what he says too, because I've had conversations with other funders that have expressed an interest in trying to standardize the way that we ask projects to report, even if it's just on a handful of metrics that may not be the perfect set, but what are some things that we could consistently ask projects for on that reporting period that could be good indicators of how well they're doing over the course of an annual review. So I'll be interested to see what he says.
And that leads, I mean, just for reference, myself and Matt had a very good conversation last time, even if it was just the two of us, specifically about the idea of what those metrics may be for different project types, which is as well why what linked me back to the whole CCI work around their project archetypes. So I shared that in the channel, but they've published their work now on academic open source project types, archetypes. And they have the various different types of projects and how they think about measuring success, but it's not a lot of detail. And we were thinking that would be a really good thing to elaborate on in the CHAOSScon University workshop that we're planning in FOSDEM. So, or not pre-FOSDEM, a CHAOSScon, should I say. So we're going to focus on that by actually having a look at the archetypes and then thinking about projects in that. Yeah, I'll share the link to that in the minutes doc now in a minute. I'll find it. It's in the channel, the Slack channel at the moment. And yeah, so we thought that might be a really good one to work on when we get because we often get a lot of folks at the CHAOSScon workshop that are just broadly associated with this sort of thing. So it might be interesting to have that discussion. So that's the plan. People like that plan, I suppose, is the question here. Oh, there we go.
Yeah, you got it.
Ahead of me.
And we've kind of talked about this for a while, and this might be a really good between CHAOSScon and what Dario talks about, a really nice way to kind of set this out fundamentally. Like, what could some of those metrics be? So, Claire, I'd recommend when you're at CHAOSScon and you're trying to like wrangle people to come up with what some of those metrics could be across the archetypes, to really try to keep it simple. Like, what are the 2 or 3 metrics that might be indicative? Like, not trying to boil the ocean, just what are the couple that can get us off the ground that might be helpful to talk about?
Sounds good.
Okay.
I'll also add that based on that conversation, we were planning to attempt a kind of a Zoom call so other people can listen in. So we did that before in the room in
Yeah.
Brussels, and it seemed to work okay. So I'll share the link here. I'll set that up and share the link here. So,
Okay.
but with the proviso that it may not work, if you know what I mean.
It's okay.
Yeah.
Where you may not keep everybody's attention. Sometimes
Yeah.
it's hard to keep people's attention for 4
Yeah.
hours on Zoom.
Yeah, but it's going to be broken up into 2 sessions. So we'll probably take one of the archetype types in each, or maybe like
Very
a couple.
interested to see how that goes,
Yeah.
and then encourage people to only do 2 or 3 metrics.
Yeah,
Like-
exactly. It's kind of like,
Do you remember what time of day that is? That event?
it's in the afternoon, so it starts at 1:30 European time. So that'd be, what is that? 2:30 Irish time. That's let me get my time buddy. I'm so bad on time zones.
Anyway, 1:30
Like
Euro.
super early my time, so that's
It'd be
it.
super early for you, Stephanie.
All right.
But the second one will be starting, I think, 3:50, like 10 to 4. So that would be closer to,
Better.
so so the second set will be 7 a.m. Still super
7 a.m.,
early, but
yeah.
at least a little bit more.
I know. I've been on meetings since 7 a.m. today, so I'm like, although the last meeting I was just sitting there listening to David talk. Oh, and Remy is here.
I'm sorry.
No, that was good because I hadn't been in that meeting yet, so I just wanted to hear what people were talking about. So,
All right, well, very cool. I think that's a great kickoff for kind of thinking about what those metrics can be. So thanks, Claire, and thanks for having Dario come as well and kind of reaching out to him. That'll be great. Okay. So the last thing really on the agenda, oh, I guess we have a couple things. The UC Open happening. Do you want to mention that?
yeah, it was just I noticed it. Like I said, it's
Yeah.
we don't have our website ready to go yet. But that's going to be. I mean, I feel like it's a similar idea to what David was talking about with the GW one. But it's the first time we're doing it as the network. And we're hoping to have industry audience, a local kind of the researchers, at least the Northern California UC folks coming at a good number, and then also local open source communities as well. So kind of trying to get all 3 of those groups together. So we're in the process right now of trying to figure out what makes the most sense, where you can, have keynotes and panels and that type of thing that brings in all 3, and then also gives them all a chance to talk to each other, because I think that was kind of our main kind of linking all of those groups. So yeah, we're just getting going on it, and hopefully by the next time we talk, I'll have more, and hope maybe even have a website. We'll see. But yeah,
have you taken a look at the OFA symposium?
Yeah, I haven't looked at it, but
they did a great job.
Yeah, I'll check that one out. Thanks for saying that, because that's a good point. I hadn't thought about that one, because yeah, I'm sorry I missed that one. That was one of my. Oh, I am not going on to these.
It was great, and they did a.
I
Really
know everyone's like, you
job.
missed it. I'm like, yeah, but I had done 3 trips to the East Coast.
It's okay. I had to applaud them for what the way they were able to bring together the folks, kind of like the way you're talking, that are in kind of different spaces, but kind of talking about the same thing. So it was really good. Yes, the next one is in Brazil. Yeah, Sean.
David, I think was in the last call with me, and I think someone mentioned about the OFA having an event this summer that was going to last like a whole week. Is that right, David? Did I catch that correctly?
Sorry, that's not the OFA. That's the UN OSPAs for Good conference.
Oh,
they haven't settled on a week, but they were going to extend it.
Okay.
Yeah, and is that going to my understanding last from Michael was that was in New York, and not there had been discussions about, like in our last meeting last week, about people doing it, changing.
Yeah, he said New York in either late June or middle July.
Yeah.
Okay. I got events confused. Sorry about that.
Acronyms.
Yeah.
All right, cool. And then there was the heading to Denver for Open Source Summit North America. I don't know who put that there.
That's me, sorry. And I just wanted to see if anyone is going to put your hands up because we're trying to, oh yeah, oh Stephanie, you are great. So we're
I mean,
looking
plan is to, yeah.
oh plant, yeah. So just to understand who is going because we're talking about trying to put together another panel that might be academia and corporate collaboration again. Like, yeah, exactly.
I'll do that one. I'll be on that one. Because then I don't have to put something in. If you're
There
doing
we go.
something,
We'll orchestrate that for you.
I don't have to come up with it. I think Emily's also planning on putting something in. So if you're doing that,
Emily?
Emily, yeah. So
Yeah.
if you're doing that, I might ask Emily to do something. If she's doing something more general that hits UC network stuff, then that way we can both have something useful. To kind of the reason why we're going to justify our being allowed to go.
Gotcha.
But yeah, no, that I'll definitely jump on that one if for this.
Excellent.
All right, great.
Thank you, Stephanie.
Sean, you have your hand up.
Oh,
Are
I
you-
think that's just, I wasn't able to take it down. I don't know what I did. I don't mean to have my hand up any longer.
Okay.
Oh, there we go. Lower. Sorry about that.
Okay, no,
I
that's no problem.
thought typically when you start talking, it tells
After a little
you,
while, it goes back. Yeah,
but now
Okay.
it's okay. I think I got rid of it.
you got it. It's gone. Okay.
Okay. Sorry.
And honestly, the last thing for today is right there in that middle. So, there has been kind of a discussion that happened in part at OFA about an ability to add some fields to this. I think it's the sponsor.yaml file in GitHub. So right now that's a file that is used to kind of express like how you can obtain sponsorship. So like if you have a TideLift account, you would put like TideLift : and then the name of yourself under TideLift. Or if you want, that sponsorship button on GitHub, like if you want to have that sponsorship button, it's activated through this YAML file. But there was also discussion about actually submitting a PR to this file to include not only kind of a request for funding, but a declaration of who is sponsoring a particular project. And so this was, Claire and I had kind of talked through maybe what the fields could be in there last time. And I had talked with Jeff Stanton from the NSF when I was in Boston, as well as Jeff, and I don't know how to say his last name, at GitHub, as to whether or not this would be a reasonable addition to this YAML file. And he said, yeah. So I would like to, yeah, it doesn't exist in some form. So at first, Sean, the thought was to add like a funding.yaml file. You know what I mean?
Mhm. Yeah.
But Jeff from GitHub's like, why don't you just put it in the sponsorship file? Like instead of having two of these files
Mhm.
out there, why don't you just seek to add fields to that one that already exists? And obviously the nice thing about here is you could actually track down like programmatically who's supporting particular repository work. So I'm just curious what you all think of this at the highest level, and then maybe what these fields could or couldn't be. Yeah, Dave.
How is that like the current funder is like I'm thinking if I have an open source project with testing research and we receive funding from NASA for a couple of years, then we receive funding from EU later, or we receive funding from two places at the same time for two different parts of the project. Is that to be an additive thing of we keep adding all the different funders like we have contributors, like a contributor button where you have all the logos of the avatars for everyone, like have contributed to the project. Would that be used in the same way that you will have everything that has?
Claire and I talked about this, like what's the threshold for when you would include this? So like if somebody gives you $10, do they become a financial sponsor? Probably not. I think it's up to the discretion of the project, but in the situation that you mentioned, say you have funding from NASA and you have funding, say, from whatever, the National Science Foundation, wherever it might be, you would just replicate that twice, those fields.
Oh, right. So those fields are not unique.
Mm-mm.
How that will work in YAML? YAML will be a dictionary, which will be unique, right? So you will have different sections then, or something.
Yes, you would have to have some different sections because it's quite
Okay.
possible that one repo is obviously sponsored by more than one organization.
Mm.
Yep.
Yeah.
Is that a problem in YAML? I've never worked deeply with YAML.
No, you have different you have different sections. It would be okay. If you have a single section with multiple keys the same, they will be the last one will be read. The last one will be the one that's read. But if you have like different sections, then
it's okay.
it's okay. Yeah.
Okay. Claire, I got rid of the funding logo. I didn't know how to add that as a as a field realistically. So, are other thoughts on this? Like,
Would
yeah,
PI name and PI contact information maybe be relevant?
what's that, Michael? Oh, yeah, that could be too. Yeah. PI name, is that what you said?
Yeah.
Let's see. Like that. What was the other one that you mentioned?
Oh, PI contact info. I don't know if that might be different than if the PI is not necessarily contributing actively to the project on GitHub. I don't know if their name might appear elsewhere or how it might appear, but
Okay.
it's relevant.
What about the number? Like I don't know, different funding agencies have a
Oh,
code.
yeah, I know what you're talking about.
Is that something common across different things? Because I suppose that's what it will link with papers and everything. It will be easier to link that as a metadata.
Rather than funding years, I would want a POP, like a start date, stop date.
Something like that. Okay.
Yeah, I think that's helpful additional metadata. It also makes the time period more clear
Fair.
in
Yes.
terms of what we're asking.
Yeah. Okay. And maybe this, okay, sponsor code. That might need a little bit of clarity. What else in here? Sean, do you have thoughts here? I know that you kind of mess around with this stuff quite a bit.
I mean, for what the funding is, these are the things that I think we would want to know. The conversations I'm more often in are related to identifying the outcomes, like we discussed under what Dario is going to talk about. But I don't know that there's anything consistent that we might provide here, especially if this is only about sponsorship, like that narrow band of you've been sponsored.
Who's
I
giving
think this is,
Yep.
yeah, I think that's it.
Okay.
Like I can't think of anything that's not in here.
Okay.
I
Great.
suppose like in the case, so I just think of, okay, what about the case of CHAOSS? CHAOSS is an entire project, not just one repo. So maybe a field for the project that has been funded if there is in fact more than one repo. But that could also be under the code. Like you could just put an org level link under the code.
I think this sits in that .github repo.
Mhm.
And so isn't that just at the org level?
Yes, you can do it that way. You're right.
So then would you want to differentiate like the portions of the project? Because there are different, like in the case of CHAOSS, like the money does kind of go to different portions of the project, or not worth it.
I feel like that's too granular
Okay.
just to keep up with. You know what I mean? Because what happens then if you put one, if you put one of these at the repo level, it'll override the project level one. And so at that point, you have to maintain this file for the repo that you're calling out separately for funding and at the project level. So Yeah, I think it should be one or the other. Otherwise,
Just
it'll end up being nonsense over time.
fair enough. Okay, great. Schema.org. What is this used for, David?
So, I mean, I haven't used it much in detail, but the schema has all this kind of a web ontologies thing, is like how to describe things. And I've been looking at that for training material to see, because they have like things like for a lesson, what are the things like you have to have for like how to describe that on internet, like your website, what information contains. So
I got it.
I searched for grant and I found that. So, and
Yeah.
there's also another field for funder as well. So they have like different levels of things. So I suppose that maybe if what we suggest there is also aligned to the schema, when we make things more compatible.
Yep, I hear you. I didn't even know about this. There's a whole group of people making schemas.
Software Heritage is using this under metacode.json
Okay,
to sort of track the metadata for, their archive of repos.
interesting. Okay.
But it's schema.org is a broad standard, and yeah, if you're able to find the fields in there, then you have a lot of alignment and interoperability with other organizations.
Okay, well, I'll kind of cross-reference here. What was the other one? It was grant and funder. Is that what you said, David? David Suarez. I guess we have two Davids. I didn't realize that till
Yeah,
this
sorry. No, I click on grant and that's what the one I share, right? And then I saw there's funder and monetary grant, and I don't know. It's the first time I've seen them. Like I've been looking at other schemas inside the schema, but
Okay.
they might have more things there. I don't know.
Yes.
I mean, doesn't have the details that we have, but probably some of those fields, inside those fields, there's other things like that they may include, like the dates and the but they have things like the logo or the
And if
amount.
we can just follow their spec, it might be a little bit more sensible.
Yeah.
Okay.
One thing that in the last meeting we were talking a lot about stuff like this. Remy is if you keep the key names the same, even if it's YAML versus JSON, they should be able to convert back and forth. So like doing some work up front to try to pick consistent key names.
Is the
It might
key
be easier said than done.
right there? Do you know?
Like the property, I think.
Yeah, so like
Amount, funder,
would
funded
be,
item.
we have funding amount, but it would just be amount instead of funding amount. The one that we proposed ever so briefly here, we had like funding underscore amount. And your suggestion is just to call it amount. Is that correct?
I'm saying if you can align them with what's in existing schemas,
You
might
probably will have a different level above that called funder or funding, and then it will be funding underneath amount.
Got you.
this might not be possible. So
No, it looks like, I mean, this looks very technical. Monetary amount, I think, is a type description, and the alternative is a number. So if I click that, that type is asking you for the currency, which is probably the critical metadata separate from an amount.
yeah, I'm not
Does that
talking
make
about the
sense?
expected types. I'm talking about the property names.
Yeah. Yeah. Amount. Okay. You're right. So amount is certainly a property name in monetary grant, and it's not funding amount. So if we wanted to be consistent, we could just call it amount. And then if I look at schema.org, that could be a monetary amount or just a number, which I would expect most people would just use a number as opposed to getting super granular with it.
And then we would just call it funder as opposed to financial sponsor.
Yeah, that's a good point. That's another clearly labeled type.
Okay. What's a sponsor versus a funder?
That's
Well, if you, I'm thinking if there's like industry involvement, that they're not actually giving the direct funding, but somehow sponsoring in other ways.
Okay.
But I think it's a bit vague.
they appear very similar. like funder and sponsor. I'm not sure what really distinguishes them, to be candid.
My understanding of the difference between a funder and a sponsor is that a sponsor doesn't expect anything back, and a funder is funding something specifically and expects outputs.
Actually, that's especially from an academic perspective. That actually is a good. It's like gift versus grant.
Yeah.
Okay.
Now I understand.
Okay. Do they have anything in here, Sean, while you're looking? Because I'm trying to keep it up. Like that's around like the recipient name.
I wonder, I'm trying to figure out properties from thing. So this is so meta as a abstract definition of what a schema is. I would,
I don't see anything right now.
nothing clear, perhaps name, but I'd have to understand what thing is.
If thing is the person or the thing that has been given.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
So the thing is in the top. If you see the tree on the top of the breadcrumbs, it says thing is intangible and it's a grant and it's monetary grant. So the thing, it will be from the one above. I suppose that it's just kind of a inherited to monetary grant or to grant. Like you go to the
Okay.
top of all of it, you have this kind of a there you go in the top in red, thing, intangible, grant, and monetary grant. So I suppose that those are like the thing that I inherited through the one below. But
Okay.
I'm sorry, I opened a little hole.
No, it's okay.
Worms now.
It's
So did you say, so under grant, there is a funder and a sponsor, which you covered, I guess.
Yep.
What was your question, Matt? Now I've lost track. We've meta discussed so many things.
Like the recipient,
Oh, right. Yeah.
like me, or the recipient institution.
So I think implicit in this is that the recipient is whomever is responsible for the repository or org where the funding document is kept.
Okay.
Like it's not explicitly stated, but it seems to be implicit in where and why you put this somewhere.
Okay.
I don't know if that's helpful, but that's what it seems like.
In this thing.
Right.
Okay.
The example they have under example 1, where's my mouse here? Under monetary grant. So if you click on monetary grant somewhere, where is it?
If I go to grant,
Monetary grant.
where did I find monetary grant?
Search it on the top. It probably will be easier. Monetary grant. Yeah. If you go to the bottom of the page, there is example on JSON LD tab. No, below.
Oh, okay. Sorry.
Yeah. There you have an example of an SF. And it says funded item is an article with a name. So I suppose that maybe the funded item will be the software or the. So that will be the name. Would that cover what you're saying, Matt?
Which part?
The
bottom.
That's like the name of the.
No, sorry, the bottom one. The one it says funded item. What it's actually funding
is making data count of organization.
I think that's
not the name of the paper or the project, I suppose, that they're linking there.
I was thinking more like the University of Missouri.
Right, the recipient. Sorry, yes.
Yeah.
My bad.
But actually pulling that page up helps because they have start date and end date. Okay, I think this is actually really helpful. This actually cleared up a lot of what we already have, to be honest with you. So my proposal is that I go back to the minutes, Sean. That I take at least what we have here. I could try to still look at schema.org and see if I can't correct a few of these things or get them more in line with schema.org. If we can. But if I can open an issue related to this on the GitHub whatever group that manages the the sponsorship.yaml file, kind of reach out to Jeff and see if we can't get a conversation around this. Would people be okay with that? Okay. All right, great. We delved into schemas, which is always the the most awesome thing. All right, cool.
And we survived it.
I know we only did it for like 10 minutes. At least we didn't have a apparently if you want more, you can probably join the community of schema.org.
Go real crazy.
So all right, cool. This is really helpful. And we can obviously sort out more schema related questions if I'm able to open an issue, and we can have a conversation about this in GitHub with other people who might care. All right. Honestly, that was it for me. I'm gonna go catch an airplane anyway, so gotta go. In 2 weeks, try to be here. Dario, and safe travels for folks that are heading to Brussels, and have a great time.
Bye.
Thanks, Matt. Thanks, everyone.
Take care, everybody.